Hello and welcome to the Q&A of Victoria. I'm here today with one of the directors, Lisbeth de Ceulaer, who directed together with Isabelle Tollenaere and Sofie Benoot this film. And Victoria portrays a city, California city, a planned city that forever remains an idea, maybe? Let's talk about it. So my first question is, how was the process? Did the story find you? Did you find the story? What was first?
Okay, so California City was a small part, played a small role in Sofie's previous film called Desert Haze. And that film was about the American desert and the American West. And both Isabelle and me assisted Sofie on that film. And during one of the recess periods, we ended up with the three of us in California City. And in Sofie's movie, it's only like a couple of minutes that California City is in it. But we thought with the three of us, like, okay, this place really needs a movie of its own. It seemed like there was so much potential in it. We didn't, like a lot of people refer to California City as like a failed city, but we more looked at it like a city that still hasn't reached its full potential, that still can become many things, like an empty page that can still be written by many people. So that's also then what we said. Well, we didn't want to make it a film just about the city and all the weird things that happen in the city. So we really wanted to have a character embody that idea as well. So then we went to California City for research, and we set out to look for a character that embodies this.
Yeah, well, you already talked about the character. So how did you end up finding Lisbeth in the end? I mean, normally you shoot so much during documentaries until you kind of find the story, find the main character.
Yeah.
How was that?
Well, so it was definitely the city that attracted us there, and then this search became to look for a character that embodied that feeling of starting anew, going to the desert and starting anew, because we noticed that so California City was created in the 50s, 60s, and since then there have been waves of people coming there, different kind of waves, and it's all people who kind of want to start anew. Like there's a lot of veterans that go there, and after a while we noticed that there were also a lot of people flooding the poverty and the violence and the difficulties of Los Angeles. So Los Angeles is only like a 2-hour drive away, and we noticed that. So people move to California City to have a more quiet life. There's also cheaper housing in California City. And we found a lot of these people in the adult school, like a sort of second chance school, where people who didn't get their high school diploma, who have a second chance to get that high school diploma. And there we found a lot of people who came from the more inner city of Los Angeles, and were really trying to start a new life, to get their high school diploma, to get their life more on the tracks, and that's actually where we found Lisbeth, our main character.
Yeah, nice. Okay, so well, you worked together with 2 other directors. I'm super excited. How was the process? Did you always go, all the 3 of you, in the desert? How was the editing? I mean, like 3 people is also 3 opinions. How could you find a common language? Can you maybe tell us a little bit more about that?
Okay, so Isabelle, Sofie, and me, we studied together, so we know each other from back then. And since then, we were always kind of involved in each other's practice as a director assistant, or just talking about each other's projects. So we were always kind of involved in it, but never as co-directors. This urge came from meeting California City as a place, but it also came from this urge of trying to explore new paths in filmmaking. Like being a director is kind of a lonely position. And you also notice very fast that it's repetitive what you're doing. And we wanted to kind of break free of that. And we thought, okay, if we work with 2 other directors, then that might bring that. And I must say that that's what it was. But we did start maybe on it like... we didn't have any idea of what it would be, and in some ways it was easier that sometimes you could divide the work a bit if we had to write a dossier, for example.
Because you also produced, right? Did you produce? No, you didn't produce.
No, we had a producer here.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But so these things went a little bit faster, and also during the research, it was easy. We always went there with the 3 of us. So we went 6 times a month or a bit less than a month. And well, we during the research, it was still all pretty easy because everybody, whenever anybody of us had an idea, we just followed it and we explored it. But the more the film evolved, the more hard choices needed to be made. Like, okay, are we gonna do this? Because we had to go to a core, and then it became a more difficult. I don't want to call it difficult because if you're on your own directing, it's also difficult. So it's not per se more difficult, but it involved a lot of discussing, talking to get ourselves on the line, because we never had the idea of let's vote, and if 2 people agree on an idea and 1 doesn't, well, then the 2 win. We never wanted that because all 3 of us had to stand behind the whole final film. So there was a lot of talking involved, but also we did the sound recording and the camera. So Isabelle did the camera and I did the sound recording. And that was also pretty challenging. I mean, it was kind of natural that Isabelle would do camera and me sound recording, as we have done that before. But still, we wanted it to be good, the sound and the camera. So when we were filming, it was like a little bit of an inner fight between, okay, are we here as a director or as a sound recording? Because it was difficult to do both at best. So again, there was a lot of talking to and to have everybody happy with what we're doing. And then in the editing, where obviously the most choices had to be made, that was a very, very long process. We edited on and off. So also after the first filming period, we edited a bit in between the shoots. We edited, but altogether it was almost a year of editing.
Oh, wow.
In the beginning, we worked with it was pretty long. But the setting, how we did that, it varied. Like in the beginning, we had some outside editors who helped us a bit, but very fast we noticed, okay, we're already here with 3. We already have 3 opinions, 3 ideas. It's already difficult enough to get that on a line. So we kind of just continue with the 2 of us. And as this whole process was a big search, we didn't know at the beginning what would work. So first we started to edit with 3, then we said, okay, maybe 2 is enough. Also, our time was, well, I mean, it's a lot of time to put in it. So then we did with 2. Then sometimes one person said, okay, I have to do this one thing. I need a couple of days to do it. And then after those days, you guys come and we have a look at it. So it was a big search to find a right way to do it, but in the end, after 1 year, we managed. But that was actually the case for the whole project, for the filming as well, and definitely as well with in collaboration with our main character, Lisbeth, who found a great joy in playing in the film. So we had ideas that came from observing him. He had some ideas. So that was always the final test. What does Lisbeth do with it, and what does Lisbeth think of it? So actually, we were with 3, maybe almost 4, making those things come to reality.
Yeah, that's super lucky that you had a protagonist who actually wanted to be the protagonist. That's sounds good.
Yeah.
On your website, it says that you especially like to discover man and his environment. What was so exciting for you about the desert? Like, what is the desert for you? What kind of place?
Well, the desert, it's many things, and well, one of the things that it is, and that's also pretty clear in this film, is that it's a place where people go to rediscover themselves. That has always been the case since the myth of the pioneers, and that is still true. But it's much more than that, because like often people would refer to the desert as an empty page that would still be filled in. And in the case of Lisbeth, that's what he does there. He literally writes his own story there. But obviously, there is much more history there as well with Native Americans. It's definitely also not an empty place. There's a lot of life in the desert, just as long as you look for it. Lisbeth, he encounters he encounters animals, he encounters objects in the desert. And in Victoria, the desert is like, for us, it was a perfect setting to have Lisbeth wander around and make his own path. And that's what I like about the desert the most.
Did you live there as well while you were shooting? In the desert?
Yeah, we stayed there for 5 of the 6 periods. We stayed with a couple that had a house there, and they have had 3 kids living there, but they were out of the house now, and they let us stay in those rooms of the children. So we had a house, and we lived there with those 2 people who were kind enough to let us stay there. But it was in California City. We spent almost all our time there. It was always very weird because it's a huge place, so you have a lot of places where you can go, and then some moments we would have to get out to go to the grocery shopping, for example. We would have to get out, and then it really felt like this, like a step out. Like we would also step in this scene of California City, and we enjoyed it there very much. A lot of people also that watch the movie think it's a sad place, but yeah, that's not how we saw it. We saw it as a beautiful place. The desert is beautiful. The colors there as well. It's amazing at sunset or sunrise, or any moment. There's the Sierras in the back, the mountain range that changes completely how it looks like depending on the moment of the day. And also we found a lot of wonderful people there. There's people that pass by, like Lisbeth and a lot of his friends. They're just there for a smaller period. But then you've also got people who are really fascinated, are attracted by the desert and are there. And in the end, like Lisbeth as well, everybody becomes good with the desert. Everybody becomes linked to the desert who's there. So that was also the case for us.
Unfortunately, we're running out of time, so I'm gonna already get to my last question. Our film festival's edition this year is about dystopian and utopian places. Would you say that the protagonist is chasing an utopian idea of a better life in the desert, or maybe what would you refer to when you think of utopia in your film?
Yes. Well, I wouldn't say that Lisbeth is chasing utopia, but more that he's creating utopia in the ways that are possible. There is the set out of that city that never became into being, that never became what it was supposed to be. And I think rather than chasing an idea, Lisbeth is really creating his own utopia that balances between something in his mind and something out there in reality. And I think that's that's the strength of Léger and the strength of the film, that in his mind he starts to own this place that never was intended to be his, and in the end he really carves his name in a rock, and he says, okay, this place is also mine. Here is also my city ground. Yeah.
Okay, then I have so many more questions, but unfortunately we cannot do more. So I'm very glad for this talk. Thank you very much for taking the time.
Thank you.
And I'm looking forward to screening your film at our festival. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for screening the film. We're really happy that in these difficult times, festivals are still finding ways to bring our films to an audience. So we really appreciate it. Thank you.
We're trying really hard. Okay. Have a great week. Bye.
Yes. Bye.